If you're a content creator and you are interested in going full-time, meaning that you are going to be able to generate income from YouTube for a living to where that's all that you do, or that you're going to be able to generate additional income and do this for a long period of time, even as a hobby, then this content is for you. What we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about exactly what you need to keep in mind to be a long-term content creator. Now, obviously, there's the super important stuff that we got to say first before we get into the actual, content. And that is, these things that we're getting ready to talk about, they apply after you make content that people respond to well, and all of those types of things. So those are things that you have to have in place. And then once you have those things in place, or while you're getting those things in place, then you can go ahead and get the things that we are going to be talking about today into practice. Because of course, from making content that people respond to, you have to have people interacting with the content in order for any of the things that we're going to be discussing to be able to take place. So with all of that out of the way, let's talk about being a full-time content creator. So in case you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick. I uploaded my very first video to YouTube back in September of 2014. So this Saturday actually is going to be my 11-year anniversary from uploading my first video. And I'll just go ahead and give myself some applause there for that one, right? Because that's a pretty big deal in my book. But when I first started on YouTube, I started on the channel that people are familiar with me from now. And I had the opportunity around the 150 subscriber mark after I'd been on YouTube for a little bit. Around 5 months in, I had the opportunity to work with somebody on a different channel. So the person that I worked with on that channel, they were working with, big content creators on YouTube. They were working with big brands on YouTube, that sort of thing. And they reached out to me through a contest that they had, and I submitted a video for, and they reached out and they said, hey, let's hop on a call. And they said that, they, saw potential in just my presentation and things like that. And they, wanted to work with me on a second channel if I was interested in that. So I said, okay, that's great. Let's do this. And because I was able to tap into, at that time, this person that, knew all of these details about YouTube, one of the first questions that I asked, because I saw this as an opportunity, right? So one of the questions that I asked is a very common question that YouTubers ask, which is, how much should I upload? And I did add the period after my question mark when I asked that question too. But basically, when I asked that question, it was because I was just thinking about, hey, how many videos should I upload every week, or, every couple of weeks, or whatever the cadence is going to be in order to get views on my videos. But the person with experience, the reply was, pace yourself. Only upload what you can sustain over time. And this right here hit me. It was a big one, because I was thinking to myself, okay, like I'm asking like, how many videos do I need to upload, thinking that I'm going to get an answer of, you got to upload 2 videos a week. They got to be this long, that type of information. But really, they gave me wisdom, which was, pace yourself and only upload what you can sustain over time. And just like just like everybody that's watching this or that will watch this, I was juggling things at the time. I was juggling, my hobbies that I had, my friendships, relationships, family stuff. I had a design business at the time, so I had to spend time doing that. And then I also added YouTube into the mix. And juggling all of these things eventually led me to burnout, because at that particular time, I was putting so much time into YouTube that it was, kind of taking priority away from some of the other things that I was doing. So because of that, in order to be able to do this, because I saw the opportunity, but I just couldn't go forward on the content that I was currently making on that second channel because everything was taking too long and things like that. I said, okay, in order to make this sustainable for me so that I can turn this into something, because at this point I'd already caught the YouTube bug, I said, okay, let me work smarter. And in order to do that, I came up with 3 different things that I needed to focus on in order to make that happen, so that I could maintain some type of balance, so that I could make sure I was getting everything done, that wasn't related to YouTube, plus getting everything done that was related to YouTube. And the very first thing, as a part of working smarter, was that I needed to have efficient workflows, which is something that I recommend to you as well. Now, as a part of efficient workflows, one of the things that is really important in terms of being a long-term content creator, one of the things that's really important is making sure that you are scheduling time to create, because a lot of people will just kind of say, hey, I have this little pocket of time here. I'm just going to make videos here. And then they won't have any time for, a couple of weeks. And then they'll say, okay, I need to make a video. So let me make some time here so that I can get a video out and that sort of thing. And it makes for a lot of inconsistency. However, when it comes to your job, when it comes to school, when it comes to things that are a priority in life, in that particular case, you schedule it and then you show up at the time that it's scheduled. So for example, this live stream today, I had this scheduled for this evening. And since it is, taken, basically at 9 o'clock local or 10 o'clock local time, it was scheduled that I go live here. So just like if it was a doctor's appointment or another important thing, I said, okay, 10 o'clock, I'm showing up, right? Because that's the thing. So I just recommend that as part of your workflow that you do schedule that time to create, because if you schedule time to create, then you're making space for it in your lifestyle. And when it comes to doing this for a long period of time and being a full-time content creator, you need to make sure that you design your lifestyle in a way to where that space is going to be available for you if you can. Next is batching tasks when possible in terms of the workflow thing. So when it comes to the workflow, when you're batching, that means instead of thinking, okay, what video am I going to make next? You think, okay, I am going to carve out a little bit of time. I'm going to schedule time. And in that time that I have scheduled, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to try to come up with a bunch of different video ideas so that I can have ideas ready for the next, 10 videos that I make, 5 videos that I make, 3 videos that I make. And this is just the ideation part, right? So you are batching the different ideas and then you're logging those ideas somewhere so that you can reference them when it's time to make videos. Now, if you want to level this whole thing up a little bit to help you get better results on YouTube, another, pro tip is that as you are coming up with all your video ideas, when you're batching them, it can be extremely helpful because instead of having one video and then saying, okay, now what do I make next? You're actually planning your videos out and it gives you the opportunity to think about things at scale. So instead of thinking I'm publishing one video, you can start thinking, okay, I'm going to publish this video. And based on this video, out of these other ideas that I have, the next video that would make a lot of sense for this person to watch based on their proof of caring about this thing that, that I made would be this video over here from my list. And then you can start putting things together in a more strategic way that will increase the likelihood of people binge watching your content or watching videos back to back on your channel, or simply coming back to your channel and clicking on those videos when YouTube recommends it to them. Another thing you can do when it comes to batching is shooting or finding B-roll for your content. Now, I know some people generate, their B-roll when it comes to AI. Some people are using stock sites for this, and some people are shooting it themselves. So if you are using stock sites, you're generating it, then in that case, you can sit down because you have your video ideas and the videos that you're going to make. You can sit down and you can say, okay, now that I've batched the video ideas, I know the videos I'm going to make. So now for the next handful of videos that I'm making, let's say 3 to 5, let me go ahead and start collecting the assets that I'm going to need for these videos based on the topics. And then you just sit there and brainstorm, and then you schedule some time to do that. And then you are collecting all of or generating, with AI, you're collecting that or generating that in batches. Now, another part of that is the stock, or generating images as well as the B-roll, searching for sound effects, and thumbnail and title ideation as well. So when you're coming up with video ideas, that's a little bit different than coming up with the title and the thumbnail, because the video idea is the substance of the video, right? Like this is the big picture, and then the title itself and then the thumbnail, if you plan those in advance, if your content type allows it, it's going to allow you to create a better experience in the video content itself, because you are designing the expectation first that a viewer might have when it's recommended to them on YouTube somewhere. And then you think about that expectation that you created through putting your thumbnail and title together. And then from there, you get to making the video about to where when it starts, you are meeting the viewer with the expectation that they had when they clicked on that particular piece of content. So it helps you make a better flow, which can long-term help you with your audience retention on your videos as well. And then, of course, when it comes to efficient workflows, you also have the delegation when possible, right? Because I know some people, they just like to do stuff themselves. Other people, when they think of delegation, they think of the old model. I mean, it's still a current model, and it's still something that people do, which is, people delegating things to other people. But in the world that we live in now, people are now delegating things to AI, which makes things a lot more efficient for all of us. In fact, just some tools right now that can help you in different ways around your YouTube channel. We have Opus Clip, which is the channel that you're watching this on right now. With Opus Clip, what that does is it allows you to take your long form content and you can repurpose it into shorts and publish it on YouTube or other platforms. You can also take longer content like the video that you're watching or the live stream you're watching right now, and you can cut it down into mid form content. And then you can upload it as regular long form content that can also help you get monetized and things like that on YouTube, because you can use it to collect watch time hours and, you know, regular views on your videos as well. So Opus Clip is the go-to for that. And one of the cool things, because of AI and automation and that sort of thing, is Opus Clip is actually, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything about this or not yet, but they just created a relationship with Zapier. Now with Zapier, it's also an automation platform. So one of the cool things that you can do in there is you can say, okay, when I upload my vertical videos, and this is where delegation comes in, to where you don't have to spend time, you know, as much time on certain things. So you can say, okay, I'm going to upload my videos into this Dropbox folder. And when Zapier notices that those videos are in that Dropbox folder, then what's going to happen is Zapier will send that automatically without you having to do anything else. It'll send it automatically over into Opus Clip to add captions to it. You can do the same thing for the long form videos and so on. They have tons of different automations that you can do around Opus Clip, but you can use it in these really cool ways to where it reduces the workload from what it is that you're doing. And then when it comes to ChatGPT, you know, I'm sure you're already familiar with ChatGPT, but when it comes to that, ChatGPT can help you come up with video ideas. It can help you come up with like hooks for your videos. It can help you come up with content strategies for the videos that you're going to be publishing. I mean, of course, you're the creator, right? Like, we're the ones making the content. We're the ones that are into this. So you want to use your intuition to know what to make, but just brainstorming. Hey, you know, I'm thinking about making a video like this. This is who it is that I'm trying to reach. You think, you know, this would be a video that they would really enjoy? I think so. What do you think? And just getting that feedback. It's great for that. And when it comes to delegation, it can also help you when it comes to things like video ideas, to where it can help you during those batch processes to be able to figure things out a lot faster. Same thing with thumbnail ideas. You can say, I have this video idea for my thumbnail, and with this video idea for my thumbnail, or I have this video idea, and for this video idea, this is what the video is about. What type of thumbnail should I make, or what type of imagery should I put together for this thumbnail? And then ChatGPT will give you some options on just some ideas that you can use it for. Another tool that can help you with thumbnails now is called Nano Banana. I have a video about this on my YouTube channel. I got a link to that down in the description. But when it comes to Nano Banana, it's also a way that content creators are making thumbnails now, to where, you know, you have Photoshop and you have Canva and you have, you know, all these other things. But when it comes to Nano Banana, instead of having to go through all of these artistic processes in order to get a thumbnail to look the way that you want, you can say, hey, I need this scenario, and then you can upload a reference image, and then it can just make that scenario. So for example, I uploaded one of my YouTube thumbnails to where it just shows me from about here up, and about, you know, mid chest up. And I said, make an image of this guy, you know, holding a banana that says Nano Banana carved into it. And then you can see right there, you know, it made that. It put me in an environment, in a cafe, I believe it is, that I'm sitting in, that I cropped down, but basically just put me in this entire environment, and it made a thumbnail for me. So these are things that you can use now to start working smarter in delegating through people, if you know, can or want to. But you can also start using some of these AI tools like Opus Clip, ChatGPT, and Nano Banana to also delegate some of those things that might have been challenging for you in the past, or that just might take too long for your lifestyle and how quickly you need to get things done in order to, you know, get back to your life and be able to publish on a consistent basis. Another thing that's super important when it comes to being a full-time content creator is financial stability. So if you're going to be a full-time content creator, or if you're going to be depending on it as a side income, then you have to be generating money from it, right? Because if you're not, then you know, you can't pay your bills and, you know, all that. So if you're a hobbyist, it's perfectly fine. But if you are somebody that's trying to take all of this stuff seriously and generate either a full-time or side income from it, then in that case, you need to have some type of consistent financial stability going on. So for that, you need a good monetization strategy. And when it comes to a monetization strategy, all it is, if we just break it down into simple terms, is that you are using all monetization methods that apply to your type of content, and that you are planning content around being able to monetize that content. So some ideas for you When it comes to monetization methods, the very first thing on the list is affiliate marketing. So when it comes to affiliate marketing, if you're not familiar with what affiliate marketing is, it's where you get tracking codes. You sign up for what is called an affiliate program or a partner program, and then you get tracking codes. So if you look on the screen right now, you'll see that I have my Opus Pro affiliate code there. And then basically with the tracker, all it is there's the question mark via equals Nimmin. And then when I put that somewhere, like in my video descriptions, and somebody clicks on that and then they go sign up for Opus, then I get a commission for that. And if they sign up again, or if they keep paying month after month, because Opus is an amazing tool, then every month I get paid for that particular user up to, I believe their program is 12 months for that. So for a whole year, if somebody pays for a whole year, I can make money from that person paying for the whole year just from recommending the tool to them. Same exact thing with the one that I have lower there. It's Vilio is the tool, but same exact thing for that one where it has that tracking code. And then if I send that there, then same exact thing happens. So when it comes to affiliate marketing, your income can really start to stack up from that, because you are giving yourself the opportunity to have videos driving sales for you, or basically getting income for you while you sleep, while you're working your job, while you're out doing your hobbies and those types of things. And having affiliate marketing as part of your content strategy, as long as it applies with the type of content that you're doing, is a really smart thing to do. Now, when it comes to affiliate marketing, if you're like, hey, I don't even know where to get started on this, if you just hop into Google and you type in affiliate marketing programs for, and then you say your niche, then in that case, it's going to show you different things that you might be able to promote as an affiliate. Now with this, it's pretty incredible. So for just one example, I was talking to somebody at Vid Summit last year, which is a conference that's coming up here in October. But I was talking to another creator at Vid Summit last year, and they were making content around baseball. And I asked them, I was like, hey, are you doing okay on the income side, or, how's it working? Because they had another job at the time. And they mentioned, they're like, hey, I'm actually not doing that. I'm having a hard time generating revenue. So I'm like, hey, look into affiliate marketing. And then I spoke to them about 6 months later, and they had generated from them going back after the conference and then applying the things that we talked about there, which is what I'm telling you now about affiliate marketing. And then making some videos on it within a 6-month period, they generated $20,000 through baseball content as an affiliate. So when it comes to affiliate marketing, it's serious in terms of, money that you can generate from it. And of course, it's going to be dependent for everybody, on the type of content that you make. But you also have ad revenue, which is all of the different things on YouTube. I should have put YouTube or on platform monetization as the actual bullet point. But what I mean by ad revenue is you have the money that you make from ads, super chats, channel memberships, things like that, all the stuff that you do on YouTube. You have personal products that you can sell. So depending on the type of content that you make, if you have any ideas for things for your viewers, like as an example, in my case, I have apps that I publish that are generating revenue. I have a website for graphics that is a monthly membership that generates revenue. Those are, personal products. I've made like PDF planners in the past that have sold and have generated revenue. But those types of things are also a great way to add to your bottom line. In addition to that, you have services. So if you have any expertise around the type of content that you're making, so for example, let's say that you are, a travel. Actually, let me go back to the personal products. I have a friend, speaking of travel, that does travel content, and he makes around, it goes up sometimes and down sometimes, but he makes on average around $8,000 a month from itineraries. So he goes to all these cool places through his travel content. Granted, it's a big channel, gets lots of views, but he makes $8,000 a month by going to these places, having all this fun, and then just documenting everything, and then telling people, hey, if you want to follow, the same trip, then I've got a download down in the description that you can check out. And he makes $8,000 a month doing that. So the other thing though is services. So if you do have that expertise, then, offering services and just putting, you don't even have to do websites, if you're just getting started. If you have a service that you offer any type of consulting or helping people do anything, like let's say, for example, in the travel idea, in that particular case, if you're doing travel and you're wanting to, help people that have never traveled out of the country, right? Hey, these are the things you got to keep in mind, and, just some, food for thought. Let me know where you're going, and you kind of research those areas, and you hop on a call with them, and you offer that as a service. People pay for those types of things. So you can also do that. And then there's UGC is the next option. That's over in the right-hand column. When it comes to UGC, that stands for user generated. And with user-generated content, I mean, that's pretty much what you're watching right now on this live stream. You know, me here with OpusClip is technically user-generated content, but this also comes in other forms. So you can do this type of thing through sponsorships, but as a content creator, if you're trying to add to the bottom line, you know, you can also offer content as a service. So if you're like, hey, I don't have any service stuff that I can offer, if you're a content creator and you know how to make good content, then in that case, you can offer the content itself as a service to where you contact businesses in your area or businesses online, and there's a whole industry around UGC. But basically you contact, you know, different companies, or you hang out in different subreddits or Facebook groups or Twitter groups, and different companies will post in there when they're looking for people to make content. So you can do that type of thing as well to add to the bottom line to make it all sustainable for you, while you're getting some of the other things in place, like affiliate marketing and, you know, your products and that sort of thing. Next is crowdfunding. So when it comes to crowdfunding, this is where a lot of people start. And this is where you set up something like a Buy Me a Coffee, or if you go to buymeacoffee.com or ko-fi.com or patreon.com, like any of those types of services is crowdfunding. It's basically where people donate to you or they join your YouTube channel as a means to, you know, support the channel or in order to get additional things from you. And that can be exclusive content. It can be, you know, all kinds of different things that you can offer. It can just be access in some cases, but the idea is that that's also something you can do. And when it comes to monetization, one of the things that's really important is that, one, you try to do everything. So you want to diversify your income streams. And the reason for that is just like if you are investing, you know, sometimes this thing is going great, and then other times, you know, this thing over here isn't doing that great. And then sometimes this thing gets a lift because, let's say you published a video where you're bringing more attention to this thing, or it just starts doing great. And then this thing starts bringing in a lot of revenue, and maybe this one kind of tapers off a little bit because you haven't talked about it in a while, right? So when it comes to diversifying your income streams, the whole focus is, what can I add to my YouTube channel in terms of, you know, affiliate marketing, you know, these passive types of things I can do, plus any active things like services, to where I can just add to the bottom line in terms of the total revenue coming into my YouTube channel. Because again, we need that financial stability. And then, of course, it's also important to make sure that you're budgeting for the long haul, because when it comes to content, it doesn't matter what platform you're on, it's all over the place. So these 3 screenshots right here that I'm sharing with you, these are different channels. All of these channels are over the course of roughly 10 years or so. And with all of these channels, and these are pulled directly from YouTube Studio, one of these channels has almost 1 million subscribers. Another one of these channels has almost 6 million subscribers. And another one of these channels has, I think it's also close to 1 million on the bottom there. But basically, you can see that with some of them, there's like a nice consistent baseline. Others, there's these big spikes and then they taper down. There's the spikes at different time and they taper down. And some of these things can be caused by, you know, you're grinding trying to get it, and then you get it, and then you're like, okay, I've got it now, and everything's working great. So now let me like maybe publish less, spend more time on the content, or let me, you know, because all these different opportunities start coming in, and then you start thinking like, okay, well, maybe I'll publish less videos, but then I'll, you know, start spending more time on these types of things that also generate more revenue, or that create, you know, bigger impact, that kind of stuff. But, you know, these things happen for all kinds of different reasons, from enthusiasm of the creator to audience interest is changing, to a content creator having trouble evolving with the platform, because those types of things happen as well. And then sometimes, you know, you can just have that nice consistent baseline that does, you know, slowly, you know, rise a little bit and comes down, you know, a little bit. But if you look in these screenshots, and if you look at a lot of YouTube channels, if you use like Social Blade or something, you'll see that a lot of channels, they fluctuate a lot when it comes to their view counts. Even the biggest channels on YouTube, like if you look at Mr. Beast, he's the same exact way. He gets tons of views as his baseline in terms of his floor, but he, you know, there's definitely massive swings in viewership even on his channel. But another thing, when it comes to working smarter, or I should say really when it comes to just being able to do this for a longer period of time, is making sure that you're taking care of yourself. And I can't stress this enough. So depending on how long you've been on YouTube, you may or may not have ran into the content about people burning out, people, people having, stressing out, mental health wise about their YouTube channels, people going all in on their channels and, stressing out about that. And just all of the things that go around making content. Because, yes, we, make videos and some people don't, see the value in what it is that we do in terms of the mental load involved. However, as a content creator to a content creator, as a content creator that's been doing this for 11 years to a content creator, that may have been doing this for a while, or maybe you've just been getting started, taking care of yourself is critical because, you do have pressure, you do have stress, especially if you go full time, you have the weight on you to make things happen. Because if you work a job, then you have the people at that job telling you what to do. You have people at the job managing the finances for the company. You have people at the job that are lining things up. Okay, this is what we have to do next. This is what we have to do next, and putting the strategy together for the company. When it's all on you, then all of that goes from, okay, I'm just somebody making videos to like, now I'm making videos, but now I'm also like having to worry about taxes, in terms of like self-employment tax, like all these other things. And then now I have to worry about possibly, hiring people if that's something that you do. But besides that, you also have the idea that you are just doing this stuff yourself and you are solely responsible. So because of that, making sure that you're taking care of yourself and finding time to take breaks is also really important, because as somebody that is risk taking enough, or that has the ability to take the risks, it might be to where you're like, hey, yeah, I'm ready to go all in on this. And because of that, you just, kind of work yourself, silly, so to speak, like I've done in the past a few, times. But basically, you work yourself silly. And because of that, you end up getting to a point to where it starts feeling not worth it. So because of that, taking breaks along the way and just reevaluate, okay, am I going in the right direction? And, those types of things, that's those breaks, they allow you time to think. And even if that means I'm stocking up my content schedule for the next however long, fits best for you. And then I'm going to take like a week and I'm just not going to do anything around the channel except for I'm just going to relax, enjoy myself. And I'm just going to kind of think about what it is that I'm doing. Right. And then that way it kind of shifts your mode of thinking into, looking at bigger picture things instead of being in the grind, so to speak, and just going through the actions that you need to do in order to get that next video out. So because of that, just make sure that you are taking breaks when you need them, set work boundaries. So for example, I usually have a hard stop around midnight here, because one of the things that's burned me out in the past is, just the way my brain works, I get focused on something. And then next thing you know, I'm like, it's like 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning. And I'm like, oh boy, I better get to bed. So because of that, I had to start putting hard limits on myself so that, I would stop, around midnight. I'm still flexible. Sometimes it's 1 o'clock, in the morning. But I get up in the daytime, run around, do all my daytime stuff there, come home, and then I work in the evening. And then I have that hard stop at midnight in order to make sure that I'm keeping, balance in my life. So I just recommend that you do the same. And then of course, you got to make sure that you're making content that you love. Because if you're not making content that you love, then in that case, you're going to run into walls faster than anybody else, because you'll be doing it for the sake of doing it instead of doing it because you love it. So when you love it, I really don't believe in the idea of if you love what it is that you do, that you'll never work a day in your life, because it's still work. You still got to show up. You still got to do the thing. However, if you do something that you love, doing the thing isn't a task, right? It's not something to where you're like, oh my gosh, I got to do this today. It's more of like, oh, sweet, I get to do this today. And it's just a completely different reference when you are, approaching what it is that you do when it comes to making content. And viewers can tell too. When you're making videos and you're not feeling it, viewers aren't feeling it either. So because of that, when you are making content that you love, not only does it help you thrive, but it also helps you do better with everything it is that you're doing, because you're thinking more clearly, and that way that you love it is coming through in the videos that you make. And then, of course, the gigantic elephant in the room here is that when it comes to all of this, you do have to make sure that you go through the processes. And, I have videos on this. OpusClip has videos on this. There's videos all over YouTube on just how to get the fundamentals down for YouTube when it comes to understanding who it is that you are making content for, understanding what it is that you're actually trying to accomplish, learning how to create thumbnails that are effective for you, learning how to create titles that will resonate with your audience, learning how to come up with video ideas that will also resonate with the people that you're trying to reach, learning, just the general best practices when it comes to YouTube, learning how to make great video content. The elephant in the room is that you have to do all of those things and make sure that you're doing that so that you can get the views coming in order to be able to do all of the things that we've mentioned. But I do want to assure you that you got this. There's a lot of content creators. Like I said, I've been doing this for 11 years. I know tons of content creators. And when it comes to content, you can do this. Like I didn't, graduate a university. A lot of the content creators that I know that are doing amazing also didn't graduate university. Some of us aren't, the smartest people. Some of us are just really good at YouTube or really good at, the strategy side of YouTube or whatever the thing is. Or maybe, some people can see things a little bit differently, whatever. But like, from some of the people that, I know, and even myself that is doing this successfully, if we can do this, you can do it too, is what I'm trying to get at. So hang in there. You got this. Now, in terms of next steps for you, the next thing that you should do, when you are watching this is, of course, put together a workflow or a schedule that's going to help you thrive. Make sure that you are scheduling things, because that's just a clear way to just ensure that you're going to be able to do it consistently. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you do put together a monetization strategy that works for you and look for other ways to monetize, like we talked about earlier. And of course, you want to look for places in your schedule for self-care as you're doing all of this, especially at the introductory part, because when you first get started, it's super important to, make sure that you're paying attention to that self-care part, because that's when it's the hardest. Right? Because if you're trying to go full time or make this a serious hobby, then in that particular case, it's hardest at the beginning point, because at that point you are, you're doing the things that you're already doing, plus you're adding YouTube into that mix. So you're already busy anyway with life, and then you're adding YouTube into that mix. And if you're taking it seriously, then you're going to be putting in more time, because you're studying other channels in your niche. You're trying to figure out how to do things correctly. You're developing your skill sets, things like that. So that initial part is the hardest. And one thing that I didn't put in the slides that is also really important for those of you that are thinking of making the jump into full time is that it's also important to have a runway in terms of cash. So make sure that you are currently doing well enough through AdSense and other types of monetization that you can use that to create the cushion that you're going to use to bounce off of, essentially, in order to go full time when it comes to YouTube. Even if you're doing it as a hobby, that's a good move, because then you can take that money that you're generating now from YouTube, or that you will be soon if you're not monetized in any way yet, the money that you are generating, and then you can start saving that for, if you do need to use AI tools, or if you do need to eventually hire somebody, or, if you're like, hey, I just want to be able to, buy some time so that I can spend a little bit more time on YouTube. The way to do that is by, saving up the money that you do generate from YouTube for a while before you do decide to take that leap, and making sure that it's also something that you will be able to do consistently, because some content types or some niches, they're seasonal. So because of that, you also want to give yourself time to make sure that, okay, with what it is that I'm doing, is this something that has constant viewership throughout the year, or am I going to have like a really good part of the year and then I'm going to be starving for, the rest of the year? But you can look for things like that in places like Social Blade, where you can look at other channels in your niche and you can see out of those other channels in the niche, like, what do their view patterns look like over the course of a year? If you have very specific topics that you talk about, you can also go to trends.google.com, and that shows all the things that people are looking for. And you can see on YouTube specifically, you can see how people are looking for specific things on YouTube. And you can also kind of help identify seasonal content that way as well. So when it comes to being a full-time content creator, those are things that are very important to keep in mind. For the people that are here, if you do have any questions at all, just put a Q into the chat, and then I will answer any questions that you might have. If you don't have questions, that is okay also. But if you do, go ahead and just put a Q in front of your question, and then we will get it answered here. But one more thing that I also want to, here we've got a question right here that I'll answer too. But it says, Nick, what are your thoughts on balancing your values versus revenue and sponsorships? I see big channels pitching stuff that I never would, and it doesn't seem to hurt them at all. So those types of things do have an impact. So when it comes to things that you promote as an affiliate or the sponsorships that you choose, it's really important to think long-term, because again, in order to do this full-time, you have to be able to do it sustainably for a long period of time. And as a part of that, you're going to need core viewers coming into your YouTube channel and, coming in and being like, hey, everything that all the information I get here is great. Any products they recommend is great. Any services that they have, I've used those are great. Because what can happen is if you promote something as an affiliate or as a sponsor and it doesn't align to where you're like, you know what, I'm really doing this for the money, but I don't care about the product. And you, maybe it's not even that good and it. Then in that case, what's going to happen is you're going to give the recommendation. And you're going to say, hey, go use this thing. And your motive is going to be, go use this thing, because if you do, I'm going to make money, right? But what's going to happen is they're going to go use that thing. And then if it's not up to par and the expectation that you set for it isn't right, then if they don't enjoy that product, if it's a sponsor or an affiliate or even your own stuff, if they don't enjoy it, then people are going to be like, oh, okay, I'm not taking that suggestion anymore. So maybe I'll watch their content, but if they recommend that I try something, that last thing that I tried, it sucked. I'm not gonna try anything else they recommend because it might suck too, right? But if you stand strong with your values and you're like, okay, this is a great product and I know it's a great product, I see the potential here, the people that watch my videos, this is something that will definitely add value to them and I know it. You try the product and you're like, wow, this is awesome, everything's great. Then in that particular case, when you promote that stuff and then people go and try it, then the next thing that happens is you recommend something else. And then they're like, hey, yeah, that last thing they said was awesome. Let me try this thing too, because this is probably going to be just as good. And then they'll go and try that thing also. So because of that, sticking to your values is really important when it comes to, recommending things, because if you give people good stuff, they'll trust you. If you don't, then they won't trust you. And when they don't trust you, then it's really hard to do, everything. So yes, of course, you will always have new people coming in. And depending on your strategy, if you're trying to get videos to show up in search and things like that, then in that case, that consistent viewership may or may not matter to you. But if you're trying to grow a long-term sustainable channel that you can really depend on and that you can grow an audience that trusts you around, then in that case, always recommending good products is always the move 100% of the time. Let's see here, see if there's any more questions on this. Hey, no problem. And really quick, so American Scouser says, just hopping on, is there such a thing as posting too many shorts on YouTube? Does not seem to be an effect on Facebook, but wondering for YouTube. So the way that YouTube works is YouTube does need to prioritize content. So because of that, you might have one viewer that will only see one short or maybe two of your shorts in the session that they're watching in, because you've published 10 and it's got to pick the best ones that might be a good fit for that particular viewer if they're already engaged. However, on the backside of that, if they're showing them to new people, then it doesn't matter. So for example, like if you publish, and I'm just going to say 10 for the sake of saying it. So if you publish 10 shorts to your YouTube channel, the system on YouTube is going to say, okay, for this particular short, this particular type of viewer is going to be interested in it. For the topic of this one, this particular type of viewer is going to be interested in it. Maybe this one too, but we're going to show it to these people because we're already showing this video to these people. And then it'll just start picking out what is the best fit. So because of that, you might see a little bit of an impact on returning viewers on those videos when you're just crunching them out like that. However, on the new viewership side, and maybe even helping you grow the channel through subscribers, then in that particular case, you're going to be getting in front of new people. So it's perfectly fine. So one thing that people talk about is content fatigue when it comes to your audience, and basically publishing too much to where your audience is like, okay, I just can't watch another video because I've just been flooded. It's like all I'm watching. In that particular case, just remember that, people do come onto YouTube at different times. People, are interested in different things, and there's nuance. Even people that are because I talk about YouTube. So the people that are interested or in my content, they're interested in YouTube, growing YouTube channels, YouTube tools, like that type of thing. And with them, if I were to, publish 10 even long form videos a day, for them, some of them, would come in and watch. There'd be a few. I'm not even going to say some. It wouldn't be that many, but there'd be probably a couple of people that that would come in and watch, all the videos that I published. Maybe one person that would watch all the videos. But then for everything else, YouTube would be trying to show that content to people over time. And since they're showing its content to people over time, I wouldn't necessarily look at the video performance immediately. I would look at it, a week later, 2 weeks later, and start to get a gauge on how it's doing at that time, because, it does need to saturate a little bit. Great question, though. Okay. Yeah, and again, if there's any questions, yeah, you can go ahead and add them. And we got another one up here. Thanks, Andrew. Says, are we hurting ourselves by doing majority of our content as live shows and not pre-planned videos, as he's referring to? Not necessarily, as long as you're getting people to respond well to your long form videos. So, or your live streams. So when it comes to live streams, they're a bit of a challenge, because even though live streams can do really awesome on YouTube, most live streams don't. And the reason for that is because they're great for that live event, but then after that live event, they're just not put together in a way to where it makes for a good, long-term piece of content. So what I mean by that is, when you are clicking around videos on YouTube, you are clicking on a video, on a thumbnail like this, right? For this stream right here, you probably clicked on this thumbnail, and on the replay, if you click on this thumbnail, you'd probably expect a video behind it. So fortunately, I've got, like a good camera and stuff like that. So, it's going to look like a video too. But for a lot of situations, the cadence isn't going to be the same. The hook is going to be a little bit more freestyle. And because of that, maybe it's not going to be just a slam dunk like a video would, to where you would actually be able to script out the hook, that kind of thing. So because of that, they're just a little bit more loose. But one thing that I do recommend, if you're not doing this already, is depending on what it is that you're doing with your live stream. If it's a hangout, then in that case, it's going to be completely different, because those are best for the live stream. But if it is where you are just delivering content, kind of like I'm doing during this live stream, then in that case, when you are going live, if you have at the beginning of your live stream, if you have the hangout stuff, you're welcoming people to the stream, you're waiting for people to get in there, things like that, shouting people out, whatever it is that you do at the beginning, then in that case, to give it that live feel, you can do that, right? Where you're hyping up the stream, you're getting ready to get into the content and all that. But then right before you say, okay, I'm going to get into the content, you want to do a reset. And the reason for this reset isn't just to update people that are just joining the stream, but it's also to create a cut point inside of YouTube's editor for the live stream. So the whole idea is you do all that hangout stuff, and then you get to a point to where you say, okay, hey, if you're just joining the stream, and then after that, you say your hook. So in this example, I would say something like, hey, if you're just joining the stream, I'm going to tell you how to get monetized on, or I'm going to tell you how to be a full-time content creator, right? And then what happens is you go into YouTube's editor after the stream is complete, and then you cut the stream right there, right in between you say, if you're just joining us, right at the end of that, and right before you say, I'm going to, we're talking about, whatever, or I'm going to be showing you whatever, you cut it there. And then on the replay, the viewer experiences it as, instead of all the hangout stuff that you have at the beginning to where they feel they missed out, the viewer experiences it as, I'm going to be talking, or, I'm going to be telling you how to become a full-time content creator. That's the first thing they experience. So it feels more like a video, more like a real hook, those types of things. And then of course, later in the video, you might kind of go off the rails a little bit, jump back into the chat, that kind of stuff. But just for that first, bit, which is super important for retention, getting people into that so that they know the content is going to be good is definitely something that you want to do. Playing the mom game. What's going on? Hope you are doing great. Says, what do you think about doing paid review videos? I have a lot of emails where brands ask to send me a sample of their product for a paid review, and I'm not sure if that's a good strategy. That's good. It's a great way to add to the bottom line. So paid reviews are fine. Just make sure that you are clear that you are disclosing, like Andrew mentioned here, that you are disclosing that it is a paid review. Also, make sure that if you don't like the thing, that you're just being honest and that you don't like the thing. YouTube has the button that you can press, or the checkbox that you can click that says that it's a paid review. So because of that, yeah, you can absolutely do that. But, I'm not sure if you're in here a minute ago where I was talking about making sure that, you are promoting things that that you do genuinely like and stuff like that. But if they pay you to do the review and you're like, hey, yeah, this is, like, for example, like I had like this company here, let's see here, the in-stream encoder from YOLO Live, like they sent me this, for example. And as this is like, can't remember how much it is, but basically the whole thing was, we're going to send it to you, use it a bit. If you like it, then do a review and we'll pay you. And to be honest, this is super cool, but the screen started glitching out on me. And I was like, can't really, make the review because one, the screen's glitched out, but two, because the screen did glitch out relatively fast. So I used it for live streams for like 2 weeks to go vertical, before it was easier to go vertical into like TikTok and stuff. And during that time, the screen glitched out. Now they have updates, for this and all that, and they're, supposedly, much better now because this has been a while. But with that, the whole thing was they send it to me and I can keep it, but I need to use it first. And, as part of the agreement, I need to use it first and make sure that it's something that I think is a good fit for the viewers. And if so, then I'll make the video about it and then we can work that out. Okay. And if anybody else has any questions at all, here to take them, to put a Q in front of your question. But I think that we might be cleared up on questions here. So if you do have anything, now is your time to drop it in here before we close this puppy down. And if you are just joining the stream, I do want to encourage you to watch the replay, because if you are somebody that is interested in going, full-time as a content creator, or doing it, as a side hobby, this stream is definitely something that you want to watch back on the replay. Okay, so we don't have any more questions. So just as a quick reminder, because we are here on the OpusClip channel, I do want to remind you that if you are not familiar with OpusClip yet, it is a tool that will take your long form content and clip it into vertical content so that you can publish it over into other platforms if you want. You can also use it to take long form content and clip it down so that you can publish more consistently on your YouTube channel if you want to use it that way, if you do longer form content, because you can cut down mid-form videos. So you can try Opus out for yourself at opus.pro. They have all kinds of really cool things that they're doing. In addition to clipping, they also have a search feature depending on your channel size and what exactly it is that you're doing. They have a feature called the search, and with this you can literally find things across your library. So basically with this, you can say, hey, find all the videos where I'm wearing the black shirt. And then it will basically go through your archive and it'll just clip the videos where you're wearing a black shirt. All kinds of really cool things like that. And then they also have a new thing that they're doing that is a collaboration with Zapier, to where you can also automate some of this stuff now. So for example, the example I gave earlier in the stream is that you can drop a video into your Dropbox folder. Once you set everything up through Zapier, you drop your video into a Dropbox folder. Zapier is going to identify that you dropped it in a new video, and it's going to take it and automatically send it over to OpusClip. So what you can do is, if you're editing your shorts yourself, or if you have an editor, once they give them back to you in a batch, you can just take them, drop them all into that Dropbox folder. Zapier is going to say, hey, all these videos are here. Let's send them all over to OpusClip. And then it does all of that for the captions. And then from there, you just log in your OpusClip account, in a few hours. And then you can download everything, which is absolutely fantastic. But as we see right here on the screen, OpusClip hopping in here says you can connect OpusClip with 6,000 plus apps and create powerful automations in just a few clicks. And you can try it out right there. So on that note, everybody have a great rest of your weekend, or a great weekend, I should say, because we're just getting started. It's not a rest of a weekend. And yeah, I'm going to be streaming here every month now. So if you enjoyed this or got value from this, make sure that you do check back in next time, and keep an eye out in my community feed for the posts for this, and here on the OpusClip channel as well. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.